This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. Happy New Year to you all. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas and an end to 2023 and saw in 2024 with some optimism and some high hopes for the coming 12 months. And what a 12 months it's going to be. Come July, we'll be singing that we're champions of Europe. Well, hopefully. No, seriously, hope you saw in the new year all okay with some resolutions to aspire to. Actually, just looking back on the latter part of 2023, a few is that a word? For congratulations. A few congratulations to mention to a few of our England players. Mary Earps won the BBC Sports Personality of the Year. That's two Lioness winners back to back. Beth Mead in 2022 and now Mary in 2023. And then in the New Year's honours, Mary Earps, Millie Bright and Lauren Hemp were all awarded. Millie Bright, an OBE, which is Officers of the Order of the British Empire for services to football. Mary Earps and Lauren Hemp, both MBEs, members of the Order of the British Empire for services to football. Howard Wilkinson received an OBE. He is currently League Managers Association Chair. He was awarded that for services to football and to charity. For those that may not be aware, Howard Wilkinson was twice England caretaker manager. He was also England C and under 21 manager back in the day. Peter Shilton was awarded a CBE, Commander of the Order of the British Empire. Of course, Peter Shilton, former England goalkeeper, 125 caps, a record in the men's game. He was awarded that for service to football and the prevention of gambling harm. Now, whatever you may think of the awards, let's be honest, are we still harking back to the British Empire? They are well deserved though, although I can't help thinking that Lottie Wubben-Moy has been overlooked somewhat. If you are aware of her activism in helping young girls get more sports time at school, then I wonder why that hasn't been rewarded with something from the British Empire. Seriously, go Google her. The things that she's done is worthy of a gong of some sort. Anyway, that's just my 2 pennies worth. Let's crack on with this episode. We ended 2023 with a chat with Stuart Franklin and his England journey. You can still hear that. Just go find it at your podcast provider of choice. I thought we'd start 2024 off with another in the series of Your England Journey. All light-hearted and a bit of fun. This time, we are chatting with Russell Woodward, someone who I met on the coach on the way to Skopje last November. So there's good times, sad times, fun times, but they are your times. I'd like to welcome to the Three Lions podcast for another in our Your England Journey series. Leicester City, an England fan, Russell Woodward. Hey, Russell.
Hello, Russell. Two same names, yeah.
Yes, this is a first for me, I think. I don't remember if I've had a Russell on before, but all welcome. You well?
Good. Yes, but very well, thank you.
Good stuff. Well, good to have you on. England. Where did it all start for you?
Be about 1973, I think, at the age of 11. My first game was a school trip, an under-21 game against Holland at Wembley. I think we won 2-1.
Okay. They don't have school trips to England games like that anymore, do they? Back in the day, that's what they used to do.
I doubt it very much. Yes, we're going back to 1973. I'm an old man now. Yeah. I'm not sure in my first full game, actually, but yeah, to be not too long after that, I'd imagine. I've been going to home games for many years, all my life, really.
Yeah.
But the only away games I went to up until about 2011, I started going regular. I went to a few home internationals. I went to Scotland in 1981, I think. 82, sorry. I think Paul Mariner got the winner. And the last one I went to was Wales away in Wrexham, and we got thumped 4-0.
Oh, I've heard about that one.
I think David Armstrong played for Wales, played for England that day. Mark Hughes might have been playing for Wales. But anyway, we got a thumping. So a bit of a difficult drive home that day.
I mean, from Leicester, was like journey-wise, was that back in the day? Was it a bit of a mission for you for Wembley?
A5 all the way. It'd probably be about 2 hours. Okay. North Wales is a bit nearer than South Wales from here.
Yeah. But even getting to Wembley as well?
Wembley's always been about 2 hours. Obviously, nowadays, more depending on traffic. But yeah, it's a 2-hour journey to London.
Yeah. But you say you went to a few away games. It was, did you go to the 82 World Cup?
Oh, yeah. I went to the 1982 World Cup. It was a trip that I was working in engineering at the time, and a Scottish chap I was working with pointed out an advert in the Daily Mail. And I think we paid about 160 quid for a day trip for a flight from Luton, which were a lot of money back then. I never ever did tell my dad till much later years. I just said I'm going out for the day, Dad, and flew off to Bilbao.
Oh, great.
So I was on the motorway at 4 a.m. on my way to Luton Airport.
Bilbao.
So
was that the first game against France?
It was the second one, the France game. The France game was the first one, and the game I went to was Czechoslovakia.
Oh, okay.
Which we won 2-0, and then the third game was Kuwait, which we won 1-0. But it was Czechoslovakia game I went to.
So was that a straightforward journey then, getting to Bilbao?
Yes, it was. The journey was fine. Flight direct into Bilbao, and we had such a great day. We really did. I went with a friend of mine that now lives in Germany. Used to be in the forces, but I've got quite a few photos from that day. Have you ever heard of the old boy, Bill Bailey, I think it was, that used to have the Union Jack outfit on and the England top hat?
Do you know, I've heard of him. I'm aware of him.
Yeah.
Oh, no longer with us, I believe.
No, I doubt it very much, no. And I had a couple of photos took with him where I think we got a bottle of wine in his hand at the time. Looked really up on the picture. But and then just before the game started, was in a pub which I'm sure they renamed just for the World Cup. It was called the Winston Churchill pub. And we're all outside there just having a bit of a sing and a drink, and nobody was causing any trouble. And a brown van turned up, just a plain brown van, and the back doors flew open. It was old Bill, weren't it? And they just got out the back and just waved the buttons at us. I said to my mate, I think we need to be out of here. They started walking, and next thing you know, everybody was just running down the road. I don't know anybody that got battered, but we just got out of there pretty fast.
The Spanish police, they've got a bit of a reputation, haven't they?
They did, yeah. And, but other than that, it was a pretty smooth day, really.
I'm trying to think I don't remember the 82 World Cup personally. What's the score?
2-0. First goal was an own goal, and the second goal, Trevor Francis, I think.
Okay.
Oh, the Francis or Woodcock, I can't recall.
Yeah. Well, so you saw the trip in the Daily Mirror or Daily Mail?
Yeah.
Was that a ticket to get to the game?
It wasn't like it is nowadays, you weren't screened for your tickets. There was a ticket come with that trip.
I see.
So don't ask me how they did it. I say it cost me £160, which back then was a lot of money, particularly for a day trip. But I didn't care at 20 years old.
Oh, so you got your first World Cup in at 1982. Have you been to any more since?
Yeah, I went to France in 98. we went to Lons. Obviously, Lons is only about 40-minute drive from Cali. So I went with a mate of mine locally, and we got a ticket on the street there. I think I paid about 178 quid for it.
So you paid more for one ticket in 98 than you paid for a trip, a day trip in 82.
Right, yeah. And I tell you how I got this ticket. There was a lad in the street and he got 3, and there were only 2 of us, and he wouldn't release 2. And I kept begging him, and he wouldn't release 2 because he thought he'd be stuck with 1.
Okay.
So in the end, I walked up the street, and obviously there were a lot of England fans there. So I'd just seen a youth in the street. I tapped him on the shoulder. I said, "Do you want a ticket for the game?" He says, "Yeah." I says, "Come with me." Anyway, he bought the other one.
Oh, fair enough.
So we got these 3 tickets from this French lad. This French lad, I was getting really angry with him at the time.
I'm trying to think.
I got round it that way, yeah.
98 in Lons. I'm trying to think who do we play in Lons?
Colombia, and at 2-0, Beckham, Anderton and Beckham scored the goals.
That's right.
Beckham from the free kick.
Yes, I can picture it now. Anderton scored from an angle, didn't he?
That's right, exactly, yeah. I think he blasted into the roof of the net, yeah.
Yeah, so is that the only game you saw in 98?
That's the only game I saw, yeah, to easy access. Yeah. And tournament-wise, the only other tournament I went to was France in 2016.
All right.
So I did all the group games. I didn't go to the Iceland game. And I tell you what, I didn't go to. I got tickets for all the rest of the games by that round, rather than that first knockout game. And I just got a real feeling that if we'd have topped that group, we'd have been in Paris.
Yes.
No problem. But I just got a feeling England had a knack of messing it up and finished second in the group. And I knew second in the group was Nice on a Monday night. I thought, just don't fancy that. So I didn't get a second round ticket. And as we all know, we got knocked out in the Iceland beat us, didn't they?
You know what? I wish I'd have had your thinking, because I made that trip to Nice.
Yeah. That's the reason I didn't get a second round ticket. I thought, Nice on a Monday night. I thought, no, and then that's exactly what happened.
Do you know, there's probably not many people that would come up with a phrase, "Oh, I don't fancy Nice on a Monday night."
Yeah, that was me thinking. Yeah.
Oh, fair play to you. So,
yeah.
What was it? 2011 when you joined the supporters club. What made you think, right, I want to do this properly now?
A friend of mine said to me, "We're going to Bulgaria in September." Him and his wife are going, and he says, "Why don't you bring you and Jill along?" The lady I was with at the time, and I said, "That's not a bad idea. I'll have to be a member, and would I get a ticket?" He said, "You'll get one for Bulgaria, would imagine." Back in them days, it's not like we are now. We weren't doing that well. There weren't that many members, so it weren't too bad to get away tickets. But prior to that, in the February, we got Wales away, and I applied for a ticket with 0 caps because my partner at the time bought me the membership for Christmas.
Okay.
So I applied for the Wales ticket, and I got one through the ballot on 0 caps.
Do you know, that just goes to show you've got to be in it to win it.
To win, yeah, of course, Chev, yeah. So I got a ticket for the Wales game. I didn't go to any more, but I got a ticket easily for Bulgaria, and that was 2011. I think we won 3-0. It was the first time we wore the away strip. Gary Cahill's debut, we scored.
Okay.
And the away strip was the first time we wore the navy with the light blue collar, and that's still one of my favourite away shirts, actually.
I know the shirt you're thinking of. Yeah.
That was the first time they wore it. I say Gary Cahill made his debut and he scored that day. We won 3-0.
So from there, 2011 would have been a qualifier for the next year, 2012
it
Euros.
Was a qualifier, yes. It was, yes.
You didn't.
So
didn't fancy Ukraine.
I would tell you about it. I didn't fancy it. I didn't go any more on that trip. I was still continuing to go into the home games at that time. We did, myself and a friend of mine from Manchester, we got a ticket for the game in Kiev in Ukraine. And it was a last minute decision. We weren't really going, and this ticket appeared through the post. And I flung it on my dining room table at the time. And we'd tell a lie, we went to San Marino.
As part of the court, yes.
And this couple from Manchester, they come back to my house and dropped me off because we went, I think we flew from Luton, and they dropped me off in Leicestershire before they went back to Manchester. And there sat this ticket that I just left there. And we looked at each other and we said, shall we? And she says, come on, let's do it. And so we did. We went off to Kiev, which was a bit of an adventure because we were so late in booking everything. There were hardly any accommodation left. And there were a few people I knew that they got an hotel about 10 minutes ride from Independence Square with single rooms. So it's great. So I looked at it. And by the time I come to, the last one had just gone.
Oh.
So I had to find somewhere, and I found this apartment, and it was new. It was brand new. So I got to the airport, and I gave this taxi driver this. I tried to write everything down in English, and I googled it and wrote it down in Ukrainian as well.
Well done.
tried to be up on the game, you know. I got to the airport. No taxi drivers knew where it were. Anyway, one of them took my paper and he went over to see some mates. And he finally says, right, come on. And I got in the taxi with a Tottenham fan. And my Manchester friends, they went off in another taxi. They wanted to be in room for all of us because there were another couple as well. And me and this Tottenham fan, the taxi driver ripped us off big time. But he eventually found it right on the outskirts of Kiev. And talk about only just being built. It weren't even flaming finished.
Oh.
So luckily, they must have been a little bit organised. There were a young girl there, manageress, and she actually welcomed. I got out of the taxi and she welcomed me, and she got my name on the list.
Okay, so it was legit.
And she showed me this room that it was just like it was like a prison cell. It was 4 walls and a bed. and to get to the toilet, I had to go through another room. But luckily in that room, there are these 2 young Swedish lads. There are a lot of Swedes in Kiev. Did you go there, Russell?
I did. They were all on that, along the river. There was an island.
Yes.
And they just pitched it was a campsite for Swedes. Yeah. It was just yellow.
They're all over, weren't they? Yeah. But these 2 Swedish lads, they were really good lads. And I said to him, I says, look, I have to go to the toilet a bit in the night. I'm going to have to come through your room. And he said, oh, that's no problem. And I did, and you know, I went through their room 2 or 3 times, as you do.
Yeah.
And they didn't even wake up, so they were great. And then just another short story, just at the end of that trip, the manageresses, they were great because they used to arrange a taxi for me every morning to get across to the other hotel where my mates were.
Okay, that's nice.
So that was fantastic. And anyway, at the end of that trip, they arranged for a taxi to take me back to the airport. And these 2 Swedish lads said to me, do you want to come for a beer with us? I said, well, I've got a taxi coming in an hour, lads. They said, that's okay. It's only across the road. When I say across the road, it was about a 6-lane main road we had to negotiate. I said, come on then, we'll have a swift one, but I've got to go back here in about 50 minutes. So we went over the road to this bar and it was about 50p a pint. So I slung my arm across the chest. I says, don't worry, lads, I'll get these.
Great stuff.
So that was that trip. Yeah, so I did that one. Yeah.
So was that? Did we play Sweden in Kiev?
It was a Sweden game.
Was it? Yeah.
I think Sweden played all 3 of their games in Kiev, didn't they?
Yes.
They were based there, but we had 2 other games in Donetsk.
That's right. Yeah.
Most of the English fans were coming and going for that game. But yeah, it was a Sweden game, and it was probably one of the best games of the tournament, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't know if you remember it. Andy Carroll scored, didn't he?
Yeah, was it 3-2? And I think
3-2. I think Sweden went in front twice. Yeah, and we won 3-2. Yeah.
Am I thinking of the right game? Did Theo Walcott score in that? Did he?
He might have. Do you know something? I can't remember the other 2 goal scorers. I know Andy Carroll got a header.
Yeah.
I can't remember the 2 goal scorers.
I don't know if I'm getting confused or confusing it with another game, but I want to say that Theo Walcott came on as a substitute and scored fairly early into his time on the pitch and scored from a fair distance. Someone will correct me. So Kiev in 2012. So we go forward to
the next qualifying period. And it would have been the next World Cup, wouldn't it?
Yes, right, Brazil.
So I wasn't going to go to Poland. And again, my friend from Manchester, she says, come to Poland. I said, I don't know. She says, look, it'll be really cheap.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you why I'm going to thank her and Wizz Air in a moment. Because if you remember, that were the that was the game where they forgot to pull the roof over
Yes,
when it lashed it down and rain.
I was there.
So I got a flight out from Luton for £32 to Warsaw, right? But the flight back on the Wednesday afternoon after the game was 365. I said, Pat, I can't do that. I'm not paying that. She said, why don't you do what me and Mike are doing? We're staying an extra night. She says, how much is the cost of an hotel? I think it was about 37 quid for a night. I said, you know what? That's not a bad idea. So we did that. And then, as you know, the story, a lot of people remember the story about it. All the way, it was October time, and it was wall to wall blue skies all the while we were there. And we went in this bar this afternoon, and we were in some Liverpool and Everton fan. It was best of mates and a few other lads. And it was supposed to be a restaurant, and we were the bar end. And we kept being asked to be quiet. Nobody took any notice of that. Cut a long story short, we come out that afternoon. It was just sheeting down. Like you'd never believe.
I know.
So as you know, we went up to the game, and we didn't know. I was walking up the steps to the high stand in the ground when my mate rang me from home and said the game's off, isn't it? I said nobody's told us.
Exactly.
And we got up there in the concourse up there, and nobody knew at that point.
All we could see was the referee coming out, throwing a ball around, having a kick about. Then he went in. Came back out 10 minutes later, and we still were none the wiser. We still didn't know. No, that's right. Yeah, I flew home that following day.
As we know, that game were abandoned.
Yeah,
everybody were down in the dumps, and there was a lot of people trying to rearrange flights in hotels. Other people had work commitments and had to go home, and we were just there anyway. And it was fantastic. Thank you very much. We're there for making that Wednesday afternoon flight 365 quid.
There's not many people that will thank Wizz Air.
No, there's not, but I thanked them that day, let me tell you.
So you went the following day then for the
so one draw? And I'm going to tell you how much that flight were back home on the Thursday.
Go on.
14 quid.
14
quid. So, honestly, yeah.
So the flights to and from Poland were about 50 quid then in total.
Yeah, that's right.
Nicely done.
And an extra night in an hotel that I might not have done, which is another 37 quid.
There you go.
And as you know, Poland's cheap as chips when you get there, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
So that'll be the next one.
I had a nice trip to Poland this year. Did you go to the Ukraine game there?
I did, yes. Wrocław, lovely, weren't it?
It was
really good.
Yeah.
So I was quite happy with that one actually, because I think I spoke to you on that on a recent trip, and when we went to Malta in the summer. The flights I looked at stopped off in Wrocław, but I didn't get out the airport. And while we're waiting for the flight change in the airport, I got talking to a couple of lads from Rotherham, actually. And they told me, it says Wrocław's supposed to be... But what it was, we went to the bar together, and it was £2.50 a pint, and that were airport prices. And one of the chaps said, well, I think it's a really nice city, and it's even cheaper in the town, obviously. So I thought, that might be a nice trip to go to Wrocław. I thought I'd take the wife there one day.
Yeah.
Anyway, all of a sudden, Ukraine's playing in Wrocław, so that was perfect, and my wife come with me.
And you enjoyed it as well?
Loved it. Yeah, great trip. Really good trip, yeah. And from there, we didn't bother. A lot of England fans, which I couldn't understand, flew home to go up to Glasgow. We just flew straight from there to Glasgow.
I think it's a case sometimes, isn't it, where people's commitments mean that they've got to get home for... I know I had to do the same.
I know a lot of people did. I mean, I suppose it's different for me. I'm retired now.
There you go. You're in a lucky position.
Yeah.
So So take us into 2016, that game or the tournament they decided not to go to Iceland. Did you go to the group stages?
I did. I did all the group games. I was obviously in Marseille for the episode there. I was in that square when the Russians come in, actually.
Oh, really?
That was pretty horrific, yeah. I was. There was quite a few of us on that trip, but I was talking to a friend of mine from Milton Keynes who was with us on the trip, and she never runs anywhere. She doesn't. And we were talking to a chap from Doncaster at the time, and all of a sudden I seen a waiter running back out from his where all his tables and chairs were, and ushering his girls back into the restaurant. And over the years I've seen everything, and you get like a sixth sense. And I said, Sarah, we need to get out of here. Something's kicking off. She says, what you mean? I said, go down there now. And she starts walking, and she looked behind me. I said, "Go on." She said, "Have I got to run?" I said, "You bloody well got to run." And when we legged it, and we managed to get in a shop doorway, and as we peered out, the Russians come down and did all the damage. And then they sort of like did a 90 degrees and went up another street. They never came down our way.
You're lucky.
But there were some England fans down on the main road, down on the main bit where the port is, and the police were holding them back and tear gassing them. And we were getting it, and the tear gas was bloody awful, honestly. And we managed to get the police were hideous. They hated. And when it had died down a little bit there, we waited around a bit. And then we said, we'll make us way to the ground. And we said to the row of policemen, which way is the ground? And they just made out they don't understand English. They're just totally disinterested. They really don't like us down there.
No, it was...
So, but yeah, we went to the game after that, and we were the opposite end where it kicked off in the ground at Marseille. So we didn't have any more adventure in Marseille, to be honest with you, other than that.
No, it was very much a get in and get out.
Yeah, I think I had enough adventure anyway to be going on with.
Yeah. So
I managed to get a phone call to my wife. I says, "You might see something on the news soon." I said, "But whatever you see, I'm all right at the moment anyway."
that was the main thing.
That was that one. So from there, we flew home. We didn't fly into Marseille. We flew to a place, you know, I forgot what it's called now. It begins with C, but it was a 3-hour drive away. And we flew there and we flew home again. And then I went for the next 2 games, the one in Lens and the one in St Etienne. I went with a group of youngish lads from Coventry. And we got the ferry over to Calais.
Right.
Drove down to Lens, watched the game, and then we moved on to, I think it was Reims from there. And then between those 2 games, we stopped at various towns on the way down. Stayed in St Etienne, and the night after the game, which you probably remember was a drab 0-0 draw.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to go home the next day, but we decided that night, it was a good 7-hour drive back up to the coast. We decided that's not that night. We're going to drive overnight. We took it in turns driving, and we just went home that day. But interesting. But one of my favourite points of that is, as you can imagine, Jamie Vardy, one of my heroes. It was in the England squad at that point. In one of the main squares in St Etienne, the England fans were giving it the Jamie Vardy song. You know, I got it on video somewhere. They're all singing Vardy's on fire and all that. You know,
that was a big square in St Etienne. There was a lot of England fans there, wasn't there?
It was really good afternoon. Actually, that was. Yeah, it's a pity the game didn't turn out so good.
Yeah, the sun was out. I do remember that. I remember there was a lot of people having a kickabout, almost in one corner where I seem to remember being. Almost next to a church, I think it was. Someone had found a ball and having a kickabout. Good memories, but as you say, the game was so drab.
It was dreadful, weren't it? It was a dreadful game. It really was. Yeah. So that's my story of the Euros. Where do we go from there?
2018, the World Cup, and anything that came with that.
I mean, during the qualifying campaign, I did go to a few games in between that, and I can't remember what they were. But the only one I went to, I really, honestly, after my experiences in Marseille, I've got to admit, I was frightened to go to Russia. And the one I really would like to have gone to was Volgograd for the war history. Because as you know, that was Stalingrad, weren't it?
That's right.
And I know people that went, and they're in the war memorials are fantastic. And I would like to have gone to that one. I didn't, but the one I did go to was Kaliningrad.
That's one I went to, the Belgium game.
And we stayed in Gdansk.
Okay.
There were quite a lot of England fans in Gdansk, actually. A lot of coaches left there that day to go round to Kaliningrad. About 2.5 hour journey it were. So, quite a nice day, yeah.
So then
I've got a good story for you. I'm not sure when it was, actually. Another San Marino. I think it might have been my first San Marino game, actually, because I've been twice. At that point, I hadn't got a ticket.
Right.
But I knew that you could watch the game properly from behind either goal.
Yes.
On the bank.
Yeah.
So normally I wouldn't travel without a ticket, but I did to that one. So as I went and stood on the bank before the game, I thought, I want to be in the crowd. So I'm just going to have a look. So I walked down off the bank and like a low wall where a load of police. So I jumped over the wall. And just as I jumped over the wall, there was a row of school kids walking by me, walking across to round the back of the other stand. So I jumped in this queue because every now and again there was an adult dotted between them. So I jumped in this queue. So I got through the cordoned off fencing. I walked with this row of school kids through this fencing, and as we got into the ground, they just opened the gates, and there was just somebody shouting tickets, and they're all holding the tickets up. But I just, being a little lad, you can't tell on this video, but I'm a very little lad. I just got down into the crowd and just moseyed on through and went in the ground.
You jibbed in.
Yeah, I did, honestly. That's how I got in the ground.
So your secret's safe with me.
Yeah, a bit late now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we probably saw a hatful of goals. Is that the 8-0?
I think it was the 8-0. Yeah, it was. Yeah. That was a decent experience. It was a good trip all around that way as well.
Yeah.
Actually, on that trip, that night after the game, I think every British bar in Rimini, because I'm sure most people know the England fans stay in Rimini for San Marino.
That's right.
Every British bar that night had a load of police outside, except the one we were in.
Oh, really?
And it was a narrow-fronted pub, but it went back a fair way. I think it was called the Taverners. And about 3 a.m, everybody's singing their heads off to Wonderwall or something like that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this bloke comes running in the pub, giving it this, And all of a sudden, the next thing I knew, there was tables and chairs with the Italians coming, didn't they? Pulled up to the eyeballs. And I looked up, and there was an Italian gripping onto the door both sides with a black crash helmet on, all dressed in black. And I think they reckon they were Leeds and Rotherham fans. They just launched at him. They never got even through the door.
Yeah.
They never even got. There were tables, chairs, glasses everywhere. They never even got through the door. I can tell you that. That was a bit of it episode.
Yeah, you've seen it all, haven't you?
I've seen all sorts, mate. Honestly, I mean, don't take me back to the 80s, for God's sake.
No, let's not go there. I was
in Paris in 1983 when that episode kicked off. That were I could talk all day about that one.
I'll tell you what. Let's go to 2020 when we had it back here. Yeah. What are your memories of that?
The Euros.
Yeah,
excellent. I did get a ticket for all of them. Some of my mates lost the tickets when COVID reduced the capacities.
Yeah.
The early games were fairly uneventful. I saw a Scotland game where, the game itself was uneventful, but I always love England-Scotland games. I love them. And I can go back to the 70s watching England-Scotland games at Wembley, But other than that, pretty uneventful. The Germany game. Who can forget the Germany game?
It's amazing, wasn't it?
That's my favourite because in my time, Germany always beat us. And at that time, and we know they were like on the downward spiral at that point. And my mate kept saying, this could be our time. I said, the Germans always beat us. So when we won that game, you can say I was a very happy man. Very happy man.
I think we all were, weren't we?
Yeah. As for the crowd, you could sense there were more people in there than what they were saying.
Oh yes.
And if we're going to lead up to, and apparently I was completely unaware of what was happening at this point, and even the same for the Denmark game, I was pretty well unaware of what was happening. And then we all know what happened at the final. And me and my mate, we arrived in London at 1:00 on the day of the game, and we walked across a bridge that goes over Wembley Way, and we looked down Wembley Way, and we just couldn't believe it. We just couldn't believe how packed it was.
Yeah.
So we went up to the Green Man like we normally did at that point, and we're hearing all sorts of stories all day. And Stuart said to me, he says, I'm going to go down to the ground at 6. I said, Stu, I'm never going to football ground 2 hours before kick-off. He said, well, I'm going. And then as the afternoon went on, we're hearing more and more stories. I said, I'm coming with you. And I think it's a good job we did.
Yeah.
Because we missed all that. And my seat were right at the back of the upper tier.
Okay.
So I was quite oblivious to a lot of what was going on, really. But he was in the bottom tier. And he said he was dying for a pee at half time. And he couldn't get out.
Yeah, it was tightly packed in like sardines.
Yeah. There could have been a big disaster there.
Yeah,
big disaster, couldn't there?
Fortunately, there wasn't.
Fortunately not, no.
Yeah. Well, in the short time that we've got left, take us to next year. What are your thoughts for next year? You planned?
Yes, we've already. My mate Stuart, I think you've spoke to Stuart before.
Yeah.
He'd booked flights before the draw was even finished.
Good man.
He did a lot of research, and so depending on the possibility of areas where we could have played, he got a destination. He got some flights sorted for a really good price, and they are good prices.
Yeah.
So as soon as the first draw, the first England's first game come out, it was on it. We got another mate on it as well. So as soon as the next one come out, he was on that one.
Right.
And that's how it went on. We booked hotels afterwards. So we're flying out of town. In fact, we're flying to Belgium for 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
Charleroi. Yeah, and then we've got hotels on border towns, and we'll get training.
Good stuff. Do you think we can do it?
That's our plan. Sorry?
Do you think we can do it?
Win it?
Win it, yeah.
I think you always need a lot of luck to win a cup, but we've got a great chance, haven't we?
Absolutely.
You've got to fancy this team, haven't you?
Well, we've shown what we've got and what we're capable of, and now it is really time to.
You know, Kane. I know Kane's getting on now, banging form. Yeah. Bellingham, I'm so excited with Bellingham, and Saka if he plays well on the day. We've got a great side there.
Yeah, I think you should say it is just down to luck and getting the right results when maybe just haven't played so well. Hopefully there'll be no refereeing decisions that sort of.
Let's hope not.
Yeah. But yeah,
I mean, there's luck involved with the luck of the draw. What England team turns up on the day, like you say, refereeing decisions. You always need a bit of luck, but you need to play well, obviously, and we've got a team to do that. So if we play well, all we can do is look after our end and play well, and hope the luck goes with us on the way.
Couldn't have put it any better.
Yeah.
Russell, thank you very much for joining us, just sharing some of your memories from following England over the years. Yeah,
that's a small snippet. I could go on for all day, but you obviously haven't got the time, so we better leave it there.
Well, maybe we can do a second part one day.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, Russell.
Thanks for your time, and we'll chat again, maybe on another coach journey.
Yeah, why not?
Thank you to Russell there. As I've mentioned many times before, it's always great chatting with fans, hearing their stories and anecdotes. I've got another one already recorded too, in the can, as they say. If you'd like to get involved and tell your story, just drop me a line. Email 3lionspodcast@gmail.com, or you can get in touch on social media. Just search me out. The show is on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads. You can also find it on YouTube too. You can get in touch through either of those. It's always great to hear from you. I'd also like to just quickly mention something. Since I took on the podcast and taken it forward, I guess, it's been adverts and generally sponsor free. Although I can't say what the future holds, ideally I'd like to kind of keep it that way. But I'll be honest with you, it costs me money out of my own pocket to run it, a yearly domain subscription, and then there's a monthly payment to the website company who pushes it all out to the various platforms that you listen to it via. It's not massive amounts of money, but to me it's a hobby. And every hobby costs a bit of money, so I don't object to it. I wouldn't pay it if I didn't get the enjoyment out of it. But the editing can be time-consuming. And truth be told, I have in the past still been awake in the early hours editing, then up the following morning for the day job, because that's what pays for my match tickets, my travel, the occasional beer, and certainly not this podcast. Basically, all of those are what are reflected in the output of the Three Lions podcast. So what I'm trying to say is I've set up a Ko-Fi account. And if you'd like to support the podcast in any way, financially, with any size contribution, I would appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Basically, it would go towards those domain and monthly costs. I don't know going forward how the podcast will evolve because the format, it hasn't really changed, has it? I know many podcasts, they have like a Patreon for bonus episodes. Maybe in the future I'll do something similar. I really don't know. I'm one of those who are pretty much comfortable in the groove. I take some persuasion to change. But if you would like to contribute it, as I say, I would appreciate it. Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/3 Lions podcast is the website to head to. I'll leave it at that. Now, would you believe that this is episode 299, which clearly means the next is a landmark number, 300. I took a quick look back. Episode 100 was the Tedious England Games episode that came out in June 2020. So that would have been a lockdown episode, wouldn't it? Then there was episode 200, which came out in April 2022, where I took a look at the time when England played Bradford City. So for 300 to not fall as a match preview or a match review means that it's one that I've had to try and, I don't know, make of interest, if you will, away from the games. They're the ones that need a bit more thought and effort required. So stay tuned and you'll not miss it. Episode 300 coming your way very soon. And once again, it just gives me the opportunity to say thank you for continuing to listen to the podcast. So until that episode 300, take care of yourselves. Cheers.